But that's it. So that's about me. And now, what about you? I don't know. I understand things went okay, then it went up, then it went down, then it's a little bit of panic. And I think it's very hard for the students if they cannot access the workshop and so on. It's going to be survival of the fittest, very clearly, because at the same time that you are wondering what the future is, this is also a fantastic opportunity to, especially if you don't have access to the workshop, at least you have your laptop, you have access to tons of information. You can do drawings, you can do simulation, you can use that time to get better prepared. That would be a fantastic time to put all your ideas together. I need to insist on that. One of the things that makes a successful team is documentation. When I judge a team in Formula Student, and I am thinking, am I going to push these people to the final? Because I'm not the only one. Many other judges make that decision, but one man, one voice. But if I have to make a decision, I will ask myself 3 questions. Let's say that I need or I want to buy a Formula Student car. Would I buy that car? And second question, if I wanted to drive a car, would I like to drive that car? And there are cars that I would like to drive because I know that would be fun, but I wouldn't buy them because they would not be very reliable. When I see some mess in the electronic room and things like that, when the car is not clean, can I insist about that? Little parenthesis. I will come back about the 3 criteria to send a car to final. Let me tell you a story. I was an engineer in the World Touring Car Championship working with Johnny Cecotto, who was a world motorbike champion, then went to Formula One and finished his career in touring car. And one day he said to me, I will not drive that car. I said, why? He said, because the car is dirty. And if the car is dirty, then that means that the mechanics do not pay attention. And then I have serious question about if every nut and bolt has been checked. That is a very, very good idea that I got that. And from that time, I reacted very quickly. And I made all the cockpit and all the engine bay and the trunk paint in white. Because if your cockpit is black or your engine bay is black and there is an oil leak, you won't see it. White is very difficult to maintain, but at least it obliges the people to pay attention to the detail and obliges you to be clean. And by the way, already making another tangent here. I have millions of things I can share with you. Let me share an idea about how you work on the car. When COVID will finish one day, so you will go back on a car. When you finish a testing session, the first thing you do is that you clean the car. You clean it. And the good news is that when you clean it, you inspect it. What's the point to adjust the car, ride height, camber, corner weights, toe, caster, wing angle, and so on, if you have noticed then there is a crack in an upright, or there is a leak somewhere. So the first thing you do is that you clean, and by cleaning you inspect. If necessary, you repair, and then only you make the adjustment. I had conflict with mechanics who were just 3 minutes after practice session, they said, what's the task list? What's the work? I said, I won't give it to you until the car is clean. So, and it's very important in terms of pride. And that's something that you guys, sorry, I'm going to be very pointing finger here, but this is something that you absolutely need to do in India. Cleanliness of your car and you pit your garage and so on. And I see some video, marketing video that you guys do, and you don't realize that the workshop behind in the scenery there in the background is really dirty. That's not a good impression. Anyway, so first impression, first question, if I want to send a car in final, would I buy that car? If I had to buy a car, a Formula student, would I drive that car? And the third one is, show me your engineering design report. Show me your engineering design report. Not the 8 pages that you give to the design judge. The engineering design report means a report that you put at the end of the season in writing and ideally in Word. Excel spreadsheet and PowerPoint are always useful, but you want a detailed Word, which is, okay, if I had to redesign that car, I would do this. And I would do this because. And if you want to go this way, be careful because you have to take this and this and this into account. So in other words, you want to give a legacy to the team who is going to succeed you. If you are new in Formula Bharat or any Formula student, you need to understand that it's going to take you 4 or 5 years before your team is competitive. 20 years ago, you be a newcomer and you could be competitive so quickly, but now the competition is so hard and the car is so good and so detailed and the simulation is so detailed also that it's going to be very difficult, and it's going to be even more difficult if you don't leave a legacy to the team who are going to be behind you. Don't do this. It doesn't work, because if you really want to do this, that's what you need to do. So I'm going to give you a practical example. I will never forget. I was judging TU Delft, very good university, very good Formula student team. And because I'm picky, I say, yeah, you don't have this, you don't have that, and so on. And the guy said to me, okay, all right, come with me. And he opened a binders, and thick binder. And he said, this is the list of the 65 things that we want to do in the next 12 years, in the next 5 years. 65 things that we want to change in the team, in the car, in the next 5 years. But despite it's a good team with a lot of experience and serious budget and good faculty advisor also, they said, despite all that, there's only 12 things that we decided to put this year, taking into account the time, the money, the education, the tools, software, and so on. We only decide to do 12. And these 12 things, you can look at the car, they are there. The rest, it's for next year and next year. And he gave me the binder, and I turned the pages. It was absolutely amazing. All the things. It's like, at Optimum G, we develop software, and it's very, very important that when you write your codes, you document it. So if you look at the codes of Optimum G software, every 10 lines, there is something in green saying, okay, no, I'm going to calculate this because. And the good news for that is that if the guy comes sick, somebody else can take over very quickly. So documentation is extremely important. And guess what? Because you don't touch the car, because you don't have access to your workshop, I think it's very, very useful to use that time to put all your ideas together. Let me give you an example. I remember one of the most successful time that I had in my racing career was when I was in Formula 3. The first year we won 6 races out of 12, and second year we won 9 races out of 12. We both obviously won the championship, and both drivers made it 2 years later to Formula 1. And at the end of the second season, I had 1 week in front of me, and I said, I'm going to put in writing all my thoughts about how to set up a car. It's interesting, by the way, I just gave 3 hours of seminar to Formula student Russia guys this morning, about 12 hours ago. So I'm going to put this thing in writing. And that document is still there in the company. The company is Oreca. They are still using it. Of course, it has been modified and became more and more detailed. but the basic is still there about how to set up a car properly. So you have a unique opportunity to put your stuff together. The other thing that you have to be very careful, I sense that a little bit in India, is that once the kids graduate in India, their Formula student team do not exist anymore. There's a little bit of the caste stuff there that is instillated in the way the system works. That's the way I sense it. If I'm wrong, just tell me. Where you go to Delft, I just making the, you go to Formula Student Germany in Delft, you have about 20 people there who are people who graduate 2, 5, 10, 15 years ago, and they are still supported. And by the way, that is the network of the good old boys, because they are sending sponsor from the employer to their ex-Formula student team. So you can use that time to put your thoughts together, your documentation together, making sure that you leave a legacy, that you have all documentation available. And I think it's also very important that the young kids have access to this documentation. That's another thing that I want you to know, that I noticed specifically in Asia, and I fight that. In the last Formula Bharat virtual design competition, I saw too many flowchart of top management, senior management, and then the blue collar, the worker the first year. I remember judging a Czech team from Prague University in Spain. The guy designed adjustable anti-roll bar from the cockpit with the button, the steering wheel, and electrical motor was moving the blades. And the guy was 19 years old, first year in college, first year. His father was a mechanical engineer, and he had a workshop, so it was in his blood. But if a guy is good, put him in charge straight away. So the documentation that the senior are writing should be accessible to the youngest from the very beginning. So that's something really, really important. And then the other thing that you can do for COVID is obviously simulation. So let me a little bit extend on this. Very often I am asked, I want to find a job in racing. What do I do? Well, I'm going to speak two things there. The first one, I'm going to tell you a story. There was a young engineer. We are speaking when I was in IndyCar, a young engineer who graduated from University of Polytech Pomona in California. And he sent 500 letters to find a job in racing. He got 6 answers, so just above 1%, all negative. And he was so pissed, he took a cheap flight from Southwest to California to Indianapolis. He rent a bedroom in a neighborhood I wouldn't go. He couldn't rent a car, so he used his rollerblade, believe it or not, to go to the circuit, where there was, in the month of May, all the trial and private practice for Indy 500. He was at the entrance of the circuit, and he literally begged to get a pass. And it didn't take long. About 20 minutes later, there was a chief mechanics who had some pity. When he said, wait for him, from me, he came back, he gave him a pass. And there he met all the engineer he could. He had a backpack where he had a portfolio with all the activity he had done, including Formula Student, all the drawing and so on. And he showed that to the engineer. Guess what? 3 weeks later, he had 5 offers of job. And it's very important to connect the people. I have a lady, friend of mine, she is the HR of a Formula One team. She told me we do receive 2,000 applications a month, 2,000. That's about 25,000 a year, she told me. She looked at me and said, do you think we read them? It's all about networking. And it's very important. Maybe in India it's different, because in India, unfortunately, the industry is still hiring people on grade instead of hiring people on skill. But I can tell you that in motorsport, people not interested in your grade. It's good if you have better grade, but that's not what they're interested. They are interested in the success on your curriculum activities. So that young guy became my assistant when I came in IndyCar. He was very good, and he is about to retire now. He is the head of Toyota simulation for NASCAR. That simple. He went up the ladder easily, because the guy had a smart and good attitude, very good person. So in order to find a job, it's very important that you can meet people. You go on the racing circuit and you meet people. CV have very little opportunity to make a difference, at least in Europe and United States, that's for sure. They are interested in your extracurricular activity, and definitely Formula student is a good thing. In Germany, people come and they hire. United States, same thing. SpaceX and Tesla, they go on racing circuit, Toyota and so on. They hire people on the spot because of the aura that Formula student has in the automotive industry. So now. So that's about how to find a job. The second thing I want you to know is this. I want to tell you two stories. When I was in Japan in Formula 3000, there was one year where I spent 111 days of tire testing. 111 days of tire testing, not racing, just tire testing. And we used 1,440 sets of tires, nearly 6,000 tires for one driver. It was absolutely crazy. Today, you cannot do that. When I was in Formula 3, I remember during the winter, we did 65 days of testing and 37,000 kilometers. I mean, basically, we were testing every week, practically every day. Today, you cannot do that. The rule, even if you have $1 billion of budget, you cannot do that. The rule do not allow you to do this. So what's the solution? Simulation. But here's the problem, and I want you to be very, very clear about that. You have the input, you have the transfer function, and you have the output. And a lot of students are using the software as a black box. In other words, oh, look, I changed the entry bar, the car is quicker. Lap time simulation software. Danger, really danger there. Because the problem is that you trust the software blindly without understanding how the software is working. And at Optimum G, if you want a job in racing, you will first be a programmer. And it's easier for an engineer to become a programmer by necessity than for me to hire a programmer to who I'm going to have to explain weight distribution, aerodynamic map, roll center, slip angle, anti-dive, anti-squat, and so on. So today, I encourage, you know that Optimum G is selling software. You know that some students are buying Optimum G software, but I made a very clear statement. I will never give you more points because you are using Optimum G software. Actually, I will give you more points if you develop your own software. And developing your software, I'm going to be very clear here, and probably politically incorrect, does mean not MATLAB. I'm not a friend of MATLAB for many reasons. I think you need to develop your own thing, if ideally C++ or at least VB.NET. So guess what? You have the possibility to develop your own software if you have time for the moment. So let me explain to you what a good simulation software is. Number one, I don't care if the software represents the reality. Oh, look, I changed the entry bar, it changed the industry gradient. Show me a software that helps you to design a better car. It's the same story as the people who are giving me their resume. They send resume. Okay, first of all, I hate that. People send me a resume and they attach a PDF where it's written resume. Why about John Smith, January 2021 resume? Because I received this thing, and if there is some interest, I need to save that on my hard drive. And I need to go through the pain, and it's not my job, should be used, to rename the word resume with, the real numbers, with a date and the name of the person. So that's number one. And number two, the guys are telling me I'm proficient in MATLAB, ANSYS, Excel, PowerPoint, SolidWorks, CATIA, and so on. Good, right? And my reaction is that, come on, you have been there in that university for 2, 3, 4, 5 years, and I hope that you know this software. What did you do with it? Show me the application. I don't care about your grade. I don't care about your diploma. One of the best boss I ever had told me one day is that thing that I will never forget. I don't care how much you know until I know how much you care. And when we hire people in my company, we ask two things. Can you deliver on time and on target? And can you work on it as a team? And the grades are useful, but they are not very, show me what you have done with it. So when you design a software, it needs to be meaningful. It needs to be useful. Show me how you use that software. Let me tell you a story. I judged a team from Canada in Formula Student Germany several years ago, and the guy made a simulation, a 7 post-rig simulation, which was absolutely amazing. I mean, I'm not kidding you, Formula One level. Really, really amazing. And it took me from an emotional and intellectual roller coaster there because I was. And then I said, well, I will look at my watch and say, whoa. I have other questions to ask you about Ackermann and weight distribution and so on. So to finish the chapter, let me ask you one simple question. How did you use that software to determine your spring and your anterior bar stiffness and your damping? And then he killed me and he said, I didn't have the time. Little parenthesis, never say to a judge, I didn't have the time. You say, I didn't take the time. Because if you say, I didn't have the time, you present yourself as a victim. If you say, I didn't take the time because there were other important things that I wanted to do before, a good judge will accept that. So the guy made a Formula One level 7 post-rig simulation, but he didn't have the time or didn't take the time to run it. I said, look, if it was a software simulation, I will give you an 18 out of 20, which is the best grade that I ever give because, when I teach in university, the best grade you can have with me is 18 because 19, that's me, and 20, that's God. So here we go. But I said, if it was a software competition, I would give you an 18. But it's a car competition. It's like if you had a mechanics adjusting his toolbox and making the tools are in the perfect position, but never use his wrenches to work on the car. So that's ridiculous. So you need to have a software which is useful. So meaningfulness, that's usefulness. And by the way, that's why a software should have a help file, but what is I appreciate more than a help file is the case study. So show me example of how you have used your software for. It must have very good graphical input and output. And then in terms of the run, everybody can do simulation. What you need is optimization. Optimization. Tell me the spring I need. Tell me the anterior bar I need. Tell me the damper I need. Tell me the ride height I need. Tell me the camber I need. That is a success in software. So something useful, show me how you use the software to make a good car. Not a software that demonstrates that you understand vehicle dynamics. Okay, very clearly. So it has to be useful and you need to prove it. It has very good graphical interface. It has to be simulation with, for example, batch run. So I'm going to test all the spring between 10 and 25 Newton per millimeter, every Newton per millimeter, and I'm going to look at my industry gradient, for example. But even better, I want, which is optimization. So give me an industry gradient, and I want that industry gradient, tell me which spring or which anti-roll bar I need to put in there. So putting your thoughts together, working on simulation is a unique opportunity for you that you can use, and I guarantee that if you have faith, this learning curve will be useful as soon as you graduate, or as soon as you can go back to the workshop there. That's very important. And I would like to say one thing, and then I will let you guys speak, or Kathy, if she wants to intervene. Or I want to insist on one of the things that I see. Unfortunately, I put that on Facebook, but I have the chance to say it, and hopefully you guys are hearing me on this point of view. By the way, we speak about optimization tomorrow. Well, today for you have Ariel Avi, who is a guy working for Optimum G, a Brazilian student. He's working on an optimization software. I want you to question him for that. It's going to be quite interesting. So, gee, I lost my train of thoughts here. Senior moment. What was I speaking about?
Yes, about optimization.
Yeah, sorry. I just I lost my train of thoughts about putting your thoughts together. You're working on a simulation. Well, don't worry, it's going to come back. But using the time that you are there to improve your knowledge and so on. And I'm very interested. Don't tell me the book you read. I'm not interested in that. I'm not. Tell me show me what you have done. Be practical, be convincing. I don't care about the grade. I don't care about the paper. I don't care about the diploma. I care about, you know what? I had in the last seminar in Las Vegas a guy who doesn't have a diploma. And he was explaining graduated engineer, all the things are working. So I believe in practical application and theory, especially if it can be demonstrated.